Thanks. Yeah.
We didn't drug you.
Yeah, we put acid in all of the Waterloo. Is that a Waterloo?
You know who owns this? Part of this is Lance Armstrong.
That's good.
We're going to dope you before the show. Ready?
Good,
I think so.
Is that helping? That's probably
the
making
jelly bean was better.
That's grapefruit. You don't like that? I am ready.
Please don't.
The words have gotten all distorted, but what they meant to say was not recorded. Before the torches come to town, we gonna burn this fort down.
Also, Fortituders, my headset is super loud. But welcome to the show.
That's because I turned it up on you.
You did, thank you. If you know, if you don't, you don't. But if you don't, we'd like to tell you how to find us. Fortitude FW on social media. You could email Britton for his fantastic camera and audio work at fortitudefwpodcast@gmail.com. I am JW, as you mentioned earlier. That's Brenton to my right. We are in the midst of a Gary Patterson early season dismissal. We've had noticed a rather sharp uptick in social media posts in this regard. Have you seen any of this stuff?
No, but wait till you see our audio from when we had him on here a long time ago. One of our first interviews.
You ready for my bit?
Yeah, go.
There seems to be a plethora of rumors on the next head coach. Have you seen these?
I have.
Britton, do you know what it means to have a plethora?
I have no idea.
Well, you do know. Could it be that once again you are upset about something, yet you are taking it out on me? That's our bit, Coach.
Do you know what movie that's from? As a Screen Actors Guild guy.
Is that Dumb and Dumber?
No.
It's close.
It's before then.
Chevy Chase, Martin Short, Steve Martin.
Oh, three amigos.
That's it.
Do you remember the scene? Like he swore that.
I don't remember that scene.
Okay. Me
Britton,
neither. I didn't either.
I'll give you our connection. That our nickname of our three guards, because the movie came out about the same time. That's how old this movie is, by the way, that you're talking about, was the Three Amigos. They called us that at TCU.
Because their names were Chevy?
Because we had three guards and we were pretty good, and the movie had come out just at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Who were the two guys?
Carl Lott and Carvin Holcomb.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
We'll have a little video here.
It didn't really catch on. Catch on.
But that was when you were playing?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's how old that movie was.
The voice you're hearing is the greatness of head coach of TCU basketball, Jamie Dixon. Brenton.
Did I talk too early?
No, you did.
No.
You're fine.
Okay.
There's
We
no,
like
there's
it
no
when the
rules here.
guests jump in. They feel
Brent-
comfortable after eating the jelly beans.
One thing I think it's worth noting, because it's really interesting and weird, but we apparently have 100 listeners or listens in Budapest, Hungary. Have you seen that?
I know.
from
It is amazing how
somebody in
much
Hungary likes our work.
people enjoy listening to things when they can't understand the language and dialect with which it's delivered.
So that's our intro, Coach.
All I care about are there players. If there's a player in Hungary, let me know.
I think they have don't they have some?
I've never heard of a guy from Hungary being a player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If
Where
you're
else in
listening-
Eastern Europe, though? There's a lot of...
Slovenia and Latvia, Lithuania.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, loaded with players.
I think
if you're
Hungary's
listening
one,
in
I don't know that.
Budapest,
Yeah.
email
I
us.
can't think of anybody from Budapest.
Give us a player for Coach over what do you want? 7 foot tall? Or what's about the what's the
We need
good?
shooting would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, shooting would be good.
If you're there, we're here for you. Let us know. Well, welcome to the show, Coach Dixon. We're
Thank you.
honored to have your presence in the studio with us. We're big fans for a long time. Some of us know you for a long time. Some of us are getting to know you more recent. But thank you for being here.
How's that going?
It's going well.
It's good
going
to
well.
the jelly bean eat.
So let's get right into you, Coach, because we only have 3 hours for this show. You are originally from a little town in Hollywood, outside of Hollywood, or actually Hollywood.
Hollywood. Small town. I grew up in. My parents from the Bronx, so when I was born as they were moving, leaving the city and going to Los Angeles, and so Burbank is what it says.
Burbank.
That's the hospital that I was born in, St. Joseph's. So but I grew up in Hollywood, L.A. North Hollywood was what it was called when I grew up. So I like to say that I grew up in North Hollywood, but I summered in the Bronx every summer. We would get in the station wagon and drive across country.
Oh, serious?
And I go stay at our grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles and cousins. So
Were
that's
your
why.
parents, did they act? Is that what brought them out there?
My dad went out there to get in the movie business, and I had just been born, and really it was. I don't know that it was generally. We were definitely going out there. It was kind of try it out, see, and that's kind of why the back and forth all that time. I think we were kind of, they just got married. It was, it
wasn't like we knew some people and we've got a role. It was like, let's go do this. Axl Rose coming off the bus in the Welcome to the Jungle video.
Yeah, it was. He went out there and made a living and raised 3 kids and same house. Bought it for $30,000, and it's a 2-bedroom house that's worth, in
$30
that
million.
area, $30 million right now.
So we still leave families out in California these days.
Yeah, that's how I got it. I mean, I know it's, everybody when I played Little League or basketball, grew up playing, was in the dad, you'd see the dad, he was in the movie business, or you knew him from commercials, or you saw him, or the kids that I played with often did commercials. And so like, it was a normal course of life to me. Everybody was kind of in the business as your first question to me when I walked in.
Yeah.
So, it was, my dad, went there as an actor. That was his first thing he did. He also had another job like everybody does. I don't think he was ever a waiter or bartender at that time. He was, he worked in the insurance business. He was a claims adjuster is what he's always told me. And, so he's a writer. He did that. That's what he really wanted to do. I think he did. He made a career of writing movies and screenplays, and you write a bunch of them, and you hope 1 or 2 get made, and it's the one profession that's probably harder than coaching, I would say, is the movie business. So
did he cast you in one of his first movies or any of his movies?
No, how I got into the commercials was that he was doing a commercial for Volvo, and they asked him, hey, does anybody have a kid? Does anybody know a kid that they can bring for this commercial? That's kind of how it was back then.
Nice.
I mean, it wasn't like what it is now, where every kid in America or parent wants their kid in the movies or some type of social media. But so they just brought me along, and that's how I was. I was the guy kid in the back seat looking through the back window in the Volvo commercial. That was my first one.
You did Volvo, Mattel, Rice Krispies, and then Bud Light. That was later in the life.
I was a little young to be doing Bud Light at 5, but that was
got to start them early.
So you're kind of skipping a few years there, decades. But
that's what we do here, Coach.
Yeah. Were you the Mikey? He likes it.
No, and I was about that time. I kind of looked like that kid. I was probably better looking, but you
had that haircut though.
Yeah,
the bowl.
The bowl cut worked. It was so. So that's kind of, I did a lot of those. You'd go on the interviews, you'd go 3 interviews a day, and you'd go, my mom would take me down, you'd go to the interviews and you go in there. I never did any like acting per se, just went in there and smiled. I never had like lines. It was always just commercials. I never did a movie, or anything. I never spoke when I was a kid.
Any meaningful money from all those commercials?
I mean,
millions.
Millions. Yeah, I mean, just
they bought you your first basketball, right?
Yeah, I got in the oil business and I lost it all. So that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, you're obviously you get a little older. You start playing basketball. You discover you're pretty decent at it, right?
I struggled. I mean, actually, I was more baseball. I played baseball, football. I love sports. There were times where my mom would say, "Hey, we got to go in these interviews, these commercials," and I would like, no, I don't want to go. I want to go play Little League, or I want to go play basketball. And that was what I wanted to do. But eventually, I got about 11, 12, the braces came in, and the decision was kind of, I wanted to play sports anyways, and that's kind of how
it was. At that point, do they revoke the Screen Actors Guild
Pretty
card?
much.
Or?
The uglier you get, it just kind of happens. So
I think you have nice teeth. What do you mean?
Tinseltown is not showy or cosmetic at all.
Yeah, they don't take kindly to kids losing their. I had a nice little smile when I was young, and it kind of went downhill after that.
You were 5'3", so the story that everybody knows you were 5'3" as a freshman. You grow 11 inches in 4 years, like you were the shortest on the team, and you're the tallest.
Yeah.
You're obviously a good player, heavily recruited.
No. No, I wasn't. I hardly played my junior year. I was on the freshman team, JV team as a sophomore. Like you said, I was 5'3". Probably 80 pounds as a freshman. I was skinny. Young. That was one of the things that I had against me. I was young for my class. I should have been, in Texas, they would have held me back 3 years and put me on the football team.
Yeah.
But I don't think my parents knew, and so
they never do.
Yeah, and I was young and I grew late. Combine the two. And I was 5'11", hardly played as a junior on the team, and we weren't very good, so that gives you an idea. And then I just started the summer. I grew a couple inches. I just got better, got confidence. And then we were in a pretty good league, so I played against some pretty good players, and I put up pretty good numbers my senior year, real good numbers. But I still looked like I was 12 years old. I was like 6'1". Socially, I was about an 8-year-old. So there were some
we
challenges.
all struggle with that.
And so I was not heavily recruited. There were some schools I wanted to go to, like Loyola, San Diego. I visited there, and it was a strange thing. It was the first year of the early signing period, so everybody had signed. It was kind of the first year they had signed people early. Went a lot of schools out in California. If I'd had it to do, and I grew up, in the East, or knew a prep school would have been a perfect situation for me. I was planning on going to a junior college. Just because junior colleges in California were pretty good basketball back then, so you could go and you'd be seen, and so that was my plan. And then TCU came in, and they came out of nowhere, and I was probably gonna go Irvine, Loyola. They were kind of talking, and then Loyola is a school I wanted to go to. I always tell this story. Loyola school I wanted to go to. I had some friends going there. I went to Catholic high school, Notre Dame, and so that was where I won. I was begging for a scholarship, and they were horrible. They were horrible. Like the worst team in Division I. And so eventually I go work out there illegally, and they say, well, we're just not sure about you. You got to get me a year. And so I said, well, I'm going to go to TCU. And then they wanted to offer me a scholarship after that. And I was like, so. And TCU was pretty good at the time. We were Southwest Conference. They had a decent year. They were in the NIT the year before, kind of had underachieved a little bit, they thought. But Phi Slamma Jamma, Houston, Texas, all the teams, baseball, football, it was probably the best conference at the time, to be in. And so going into the Southwest Conference was like kind of out of nowhere.
As a senior, you led the team to its in the NCAA berth in 97. I skipped 97, 87, excuse me. You were an all Southwest Conference player that year too. And our crack research team found this little gem, which we won't play the whole thing. This is the extended version, but it's an interview of you after a very famous shot in the history of TCU. Look at that young fella, number 23.
Yeah, you can see I really had developed after those 4 years. I was still, 165, 170.
Probably fresh off an acting gig.
This is my junior year, actually. So this is my junior, because we won the conference my junior year and the senior year. So we won it 2 years. And you can see the interview I got. I took a lot of heat for this interview afterwards. Well, I don't know. You didn't hear
Here's the shot. You're playing Texas with 4 seconds to go here.
You can see here, eyes closed. I don't know if you can see that there, but that was key part of it. It was the interesting thing about it as a coach. Now you watch it. Texas had a foul to give, so they were trying to foul. So you'd have to take it out of bounds again. You wouldn't be able to shoot the free throws, but the refs didn't call the fouls, and so that's why I got knocked loose. They kind of were on the side of me, and that's how we.
Look at that young fella. So much life ahead of him. Well done.
All downhill after
one
that.
More time. We'll see it one more time.
We still have the same baskets there, I think.
Do we really?
Yeah. Well, it's another
flying
story.
TCU on the court.
Yep.
It's the Marshall Harris work.
Eyes closed right here.
Yeah.
Look, you're like in that guy's face too. Boom. Beautiful. Well done.
Yeah. And the great story about that, because I was just talking to his son-in-law, was Frank Windigger was the athletic director, and for people that the whole time, and that was the very a story. There was a clip or an angle where you showed where Frank Windiger, the athletic director at the time, just as everybody ran on the floor, as you can see there, Frank in a bright purple coat did the same thing and ran, and he ran on the pile and then fell off of the pile and was part of it. And he said he was doing crowd control at the time. And but it was just it was an emotional. I mean, we hadn't been very good. And Texas was Texas, and we had had the lead, and then we kind of lost the lead, and it looked like it was over, and that's how it went. So I've been milking this thing for a long time now.
How did you celebrate that night, by the way?
Yeah, we'll keep that. I mean, I actually went out. I do remember that. I went out with my friends, and I will say this is just talking about my dad and how I was. After the game, first thing I did is I always did, because I talked to I was the oldest, 17 when I came out to TCU. I mean, went to an all boys high school, Catholic high school. I called my dad afterwards, and he was the first person I called and told him, and he'd watch the game. They'd watch it on satellite back home.
Yeah.
It was back in the day where, different times, but the first thing he said to me is just I said, "What are you doing?" I'm going out. And he said, just make sure you go out with the same people you always gone out with. So don't change that. So I remember that at 35. I remember that better than I remember the shot.
That's a great thing to say too. Yeah, don't get so caught up in this thing. Yeah.
So and funny that you asked that, but there was, different things came up that normally would come up.
So that's cool.
And
go ahead.
Made good decisions.
Yeah. Then TCU, your time at TCU winds down. Then your life speeds up in the hyperdrive. You are the 7th round pick of the Washington Bullets, now the Washington Wizards. You didn't make the team, but then you play for the CBA, a team called Lacrosse Catbirds. They were paying you $400 a week to play.
Where'd you find all this stuff?
We have a really good team that goes on Google, Wikipedia sometimes. Then you moved in '89 to move to New Zealand to play some ball. That's two seasons there. You were an all-star. 89 and 90. Yeah. What's New Zealand like for you?
New Zealand was great. I was very young. I graduated a young 21. I mean, you can see right there. I joke about that. I played in pretty much every league, or got cut by pretty much every league in the Western Hemisphere, and then I tried other places in Europe as well, and then New Zealand. So I just wanted to play, and I was getting better. I was a late bloomer. And so I just wanted to keep playing, and New Zealand was an opportunity to go play. I think I just played in the 6'4" and under league. I don't think that's in there. I mean, I would go anywhere to play, and my dad was great about that too. He's like, you got plenty of time to work, plenty of opportunity, so I did that, and I went to New Zealand, and it was really I think probably there I grew more than anything as far as a person, I think, because I just, you grow up in the States, and you're so focused, and then you go to a place like New Zealand, and you realize there's whole lot of other world out there, and they don't care about college basketball, or don't even know anything about it. And it was just people were unbelievable, most beautiful country in the world. I mean, whoever's been down there, I think would tend to agree. And I was in this small little town, which I'd never done in my life. Yeah. I mean, North Hollywood and Bronx, and then Fort Worth was kind of culture shock as when I come in here, but then I was in a small town in New Zealand, and just still have friends there today.
Had you ever stopped when, I'll go back to the California drives to the to the East Coast? Had you ever stopped in Texas before TCU?
Yeah, we had. I stopped at we stopped at the Big Tex Steakhouse in Amarillo.
Oh yeah,
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, well, that was before I was vegan.
Yes, I don't go there anymore.
So
your daughter wouldn't like it either. I'm sure.
We asked another athlete this.
I'm not vegan, but that's I try.
What was that first night in New Zealand like? Because presumably you went by yourself. Nobody goes with you, right? So do you remember that first night of
I remember my first time when I got to TCU, and a lot of people bring this up. Carmen Holcomb brings up one of my teammates, and they picked me up, and Alan Umholtz, who's the manager, who I still see and is a friend, they picked me up, and they picked me up in a from the airport because I don't know anybody, and you can't. And they put me up in the. He picks me up in a pickup truck, and they throw me in the back of the pickup truck with my trunk that I have with me. So I wasn't. I wasn't exactly a high recruit in their minds. I wasn't a real priority. So
clearly in the bed of a pickup truck. I think you're going to say a stretch limo or something.
Yeah, no. And then when I got here, Carmen Holcomb came up to me and said, "Are you the manager?" And so that was my welcome to TCU. So
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, so your playing career ended kind of in a weird way. You let's see. I got to be careful how I say this because I think there's a story here that I don't want to step all over. But you were kneed in the midsection while diving for a loose ball, rupturing your pancreas.
Yeah.
When I think of midsection, one can only think of one.
No, that's not. You know where the pancreas is?
I do, but the midsection, wouldn't they just say like in the
stomach?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, give them an anatomy lesson, please.
Well, I thought they were trying to be gentle when they said midsection. You spent 90 days in the hospital. This is in New Zealand, right?
Mm-hmm.
90 days in the hospital. You couldn't eat for a long time. You went from 200 pounds to 150 pounds in the span of that because you couldn't eat. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, he's going to get back into acting because he's obviously looking pretty thin right there. He's ready to go. But that was a pretty crazy time.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it's a ruptured pancreas. That's you need your. I didn't know at the time, but they informed me you need your pancreas to live, and so it was.
Well, actually, I don't. I'm a diabetic, so you actually don't really.
You don't. Yeah,
it is helpful though.
Right. It is helpful, and yeah, it's. That was one of the concerns. At minimum, they told me probably I was going to be a diabetic because of the pancreas and the tear, but it healed. They did the surgery eventually, I should say. They let it heal for a while, which was interesting in that news in Holland where it happened. The medicine how the medicine was set up. They said if I'd been in the States, they would have gone and done the surgery right away. But in Holland, they tried to see if it would heal on its own, which was always the better way to do it if it could. And so that's why it was so long that I was
90 days. So that wouldn't was that brutal?
It was 50 days. I think about 60 days when they finally did I couldn't eat, literally couldn't eat, and for a lot of the time I couldn't drink.
Excruciating pain.
Yeah. Unbelievable pain, and different things were happening, infections and different things that were occurring. And but again, I didn't know anybody. I had just gotten there, team I wanted to play, and this is where I ended up. And then obviously, so I was going to say my dad was there for me. He came out and dropped everything and spent the time with me there. And it's tough, the language and not knowing anybody, but my goal, as I said, was I realized that they said you're probably not going to play anymore, and I was losing all this weight, and wasn't eating, and then my goal was to get out of there by the Final Four. So it happened about New Year's Day. I think it was New Year's Eve actually that happened. We were playing in a game, and my goal was to get back to the States and get a coaching job. So my goal is to get to the Final Four, bring my resume, and just start handing it out.
Oh yeah,
and doing there. So I show up at the Final Four, 50 pounds lighter than when people had last seen me, and so you can imagine what some of the people were saying when I showed up. So
damaged goods.
Yeah. I'll show them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. I ended up, working and trying to find a job, and eventually I found that job. I think you're going to say it.
Well, I was going to. You had a lot of coaching stops along the way. I was going to fast forward. You go to Hawaii. You spend a little time in Hawaii coaching.
You surf? You've been to New Zealand?
That doesn't suck,
you like
right?
surfing? You do
no,
surfing?
I mean, I've done it, but I'm not good.
Do you recognize that piece in the corner over there?
It's a surfboard.
It's a surfboard.
Yes.
Excellent answer, Coach.
I didn't grow up in the valley, but once in a while I did. I love the ocean. So, I mean, think about the places I've lived. I mean, New Zealand, Santa Barbara, I went there for my graduate assistant, New Zealand, Hawaii. I mean, some pretty good spots.
Would you live in Honolulu?
Yeah.
So there you go to Northern Arizona University under a guy named Ben Howland, who's influential in your life for a long time.
Right.
You guys were close the whole time, and he.
Right. He was. He had recruited me at Santa Barbara.
Right.
So he was again another school that had recruited me. I had applied to go to Santa Barbara just to go as a student in the in November, January, to go there as a student. I had got it accepted to go there, and so once I started having a pretty good senior year, we sent some stuff up to him. My mom and dad sent the information, like the letters I get all the time, and sent information. Hey, this kid's averaging this and would love to go to Santa Barbara. Already admitted, to school, which is rare that you would have that. And we still have the letter from Ben where it says, sorry, but we don't have any scholarships available. And so that's how. So he knew who I was, and that's how the relationship kind of started. He was an assistant coach there at the time. And they were probably the second worst or worst team in college basketball at Santa Barbara. They're horrible. So
he would come into your life, and not too much longer after that, in 99, you were reunited with him at Pitt as an assistant.
Yeah.
So you're back coaching, you're working for him, and then he steps down in 2002 or 3, right? 2002.
Yeah, he was 4 years.
4 years, and then that's where it gets going in a big way for you. You're the head coach of Pitt for 13 seasons. You do things like you tie for the most wins in the first 7 seasons of any head coach's career, 188 wins. Naismith Coach of the Year in 2008, 2009. Big East Coach of the Year, Sweet 16 with Pitt, 2004, 2007. You're the AP in coaches poll #1 ranking for those 2 years. Huge, right? Mm-hmm. Is it 04 and 07?
Yeah, 2 different teams were
different
number
teams.
1. Yeah.
In 2006, prior to that, a really cool thing happened, Brenton. Are you asleep over there? Are you okay?
I'm reading all of this.
In 2006, you and your brother and your sister Maggie were the first pair to take their team. She was at Army.
Right.
Maggie and you both took your teams to the NCAA tournament at the same year, which is the first time that's ever happened, brother and sister. You lost Maggie a year later, and I don't know if you want to speak to that, but that's a really emotional and story that inspires a lot of people because there's a big basketball tournament in her honor. Mm-hmm. I know you guys were close, and she was a dynamite coach, and when she was suddenly taken from the world, and you guys you've helped facilitate this foundation for her. Mm-hmm. Really a great deal, and I know that there's much more there. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to your sister Maggie, if you could?
Yeah, she a little unique because she was 12 years younger than I was. She was kind of a surprise, and she grew up watching my games. She was 5, 6, 7 years old, and we had the TCU games were on satellite. It was not before every game was on TV, so it was on satellite. So they used to go to this pizza place to watch my games.
Oh, I was wondering if your dad had like a satellite.
We could have
dishes, right?
They were. We couldn't afford it and didn't have room to put it, but we had some friends that had one, and it was those times. And but she eventually decided she wanted to play basketball. She ended up going to the school that I went to that became co-ed after I left. And she ended up going to the University of San Diego and playing, and then she wanted to get into coaching. And it's funny you bring up West Point and the connection there. I was just at Coach West Point is playing Air Force in the Commander's Cup, and they're practicing at TCU, and the coach called me, and we got together today at West Point. So West Point is near and dear to our heart, the Dixon family. I mean, it's special. She was only there 6 months. She changed how and I just had a number of people just tell me this as I was at practice at West Point, was just a half an hour ago, was how she changed how women are looked at West Point. Because there's only, at the time, there's probably 5% of the students the cadets were women, female. It's a higher number now. And so she kind of, took in, they had when she got there was nobody there. She had been there got there in October. Nobody came to the games. They'd never had any success, never gone to the NCAA tournament. And so go ahead, 3-4 months later, they get hot. They start winning games. They end up winning the league. They host the tournament, and they win the tournament for the first time ever at West Point. And I always say that there's only been the first person, Bobby Knight coached at West Point, Mike Krzyzewski coached at West Point, but Maggie Dixon was the first one to take any men's or women's team to the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
At West Point. So. Yeah. And then there's obviously there's pictures. I just saw that with the event where they literally had a packed house, 6,000 people, and all the cadets, all the football players were dressed up in their fatigues. And when they won the game last second, they stormed the court and carried Maggie off the field. So it's an unbelievable sight, a vision. If you Google that, if you want to see something that might bring a little, it brings a tear to my eye each time I see it.
Sir.
But
yes, sir.
she had all kinds, a lot more personality than me, and she was the people person. She was the one with all the energy, and she could. When she passed, she went to the women's Final Four, and then she went to the men's Final Four. She would go to both because she had friends in both. And I was with her that morning, that night. I went to her house in New York, and we were recruiting. And then that morning, I left to go on the road, and I left. And when I got to Virginia, I got a call that she was in the hospital, and she was in serious condition with sudden cardiac arrest. So shocking. 28, not
years
one,
old.
not a issue health wise, and just out of nowhere. So that's why we do the foundation and why we talk about the sudden cardiac arrest and what it can do, and try to do. And now Reagan has taken on the event. And she just wanted to, she was friends with Maggie like everybody was, and she wanted to move the event to here. We had done it at the Garden for about 10 years. It was the biggest event in women's basketball. It still is. I mean, they got a great field this year. North Carolina, Duke, they're not playing each other, but TCU and Texas. And so it's unbelievable what they've done. And so we're going to just continue it, and it's the premier women's event in women's basketball.
It's an amazing part of your amazing life story. So thank you for sharing. I know that's you speak to it a lot, and I love that you still do that because it is a meaningful thing. It's really cool. So. And
you shared that. I saw you speak at the Fort Worth Club a couple years ago, and I remember, as JW will always remind us that I'm not the biggest sports guy, but I remember watching you, and I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. He's talking about basketball. I'm not really into it and stuff. But then you brought up that story, and I remember it really stuck out. I mean, it stuck with me because you, the way you articulated it, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. I mean, so good on you for keeping that memory alive for sure.
That's all I could do. I mean, I didn't know what else to do, and it hurts. And it's still been a while. I mean, it's 16 years now, 15, I guess. And but one thing I found is, I'm amazed. I didn't know. Every person that called me, wrote me, emailed, I got letters from all over the world, and everyone touched me. So it's something, another lesson I got, that just reaching out and saying somebody when they lose somebody, just the littlest thing means something, because it meant something to me.
Well, it means a lot that you speak to it now. So furthering back to you again. So you're still at Pitt. In 2010, you do something really cool. You become you tie two other guys, but you tie for the fastest coach to earn 200 wins in their career in only 8 seasons. You tie two guys named Mark Few and Roy Williams. That's pretty badass right there. So let's finish up. And this picture up here, you see, I'm not sure who this guy is, but
it's like a model or something.
The internet tells us this is you, so I'm not quite sure if that's accurate, but
no gray hair. Yeah.
But what were you doing here? This seems more like a trainer function with the balls, like you're feeding it to the practice or something.
Yeah, I might have still been the manager, but I acted as if I was the head coach.
I do have a question.
You know what I will say? It must be an NCAA tournament, because that little pin right there.
Oh, yeah.
You see that pin on the thing?
Yeah,
it
right
must
there.
be a picture at the NCAA tournament. And there probably was that you can't use the balls until the clock gets to 0. And so I'm waiting for the clock to get to 0 so I can the balls.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
for the warm-up kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's strict rules around that? So you do have kind of...
so there is a purpose there.
You do have kind of a uniform on. We talked about this with Coach Sarlos, about how some sports you wear... Would you ever wear the tank top in a game type of scenario? Why is that in some sports that we have that we don't in others?
Yeah, well, there's talk about the wearing the sweats going again this year with the sweats, because it was done last year during COVID, and I've always done the suits, and most people have, and I don't know what we're going to do here coming forward.
Which would you prefer? Would you prefer sweats?
I've always done the suits, so I think I'd prefer to do the suits.
How many suits do you own, Coach?
I don't know what
more than 10.
What?
Do you have a lot of suits?
Yeah.
Wardrobe's important to this one to the left of me.
I'm just curious. Some people have a plethora of suits. You might
There
say.
you go. Say the plethora again, huh? Yeah. That's something that's gonna have to figure out. I mean, I've always done it that way, so I'd like to get back to that way, but I may be the only one that's doing it.
So as a basketball coach, and this is it more important to get to that tournament or to have a winning? Like, where's the biggest pressure point on you?
Yeah, I mean, getting to the tournament's always kind of been that place that is kind of that defining. You know, I think that number stayed the same. I was talking about that yesterday. Thing, you know, that number's been the same for a long time. You know, whereas bowls have grown from, you know, the Blue Bonnet Bowl was a real. Getting the Blue Bonnet Bowl was a big deal. I remember back in the day, and now there's 41 bowls, I think, or 43. Well, that hasn't happened in basketball. It's been the same. It was 64 to 68. Made it out of 353. So that's generally the thing that what you look at, and then once you get there, anything can happen. I mean, that's the mentality. I mean, you can see. I mean, you get teams have gotten to the Final Four that were last teams in, and you just got to get there and get some breaks, because anybody that's in that tournament at that point is good enough to win games. So it's a 1-game event. Basketball with the 3-point shot now is anybody that gets hot can beat. Can not a best of 7, but they can beat you in 1 game.
I watched Hoosiers to brush up and do a little research on this. Do you have some kids where it feels like that? They get to the tournament for the first time, and it's like, oh my goodness! Like, you got to overcome some of that stuff just emotionally with them, get them to that level in a real short amount of time.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be completely different. I think before you had the same players, and you had the guys for 4 or 5 years, and so you were building them. They've gone to tournament after tournament. Now in college athletics and basketball, especially, you're going to have new guys, new teams every year. So that you almost got to kind of, I think, reteach them, or if really for the first time, you got to really talk to them what your goals are, establish those, as you're going to generally have new guys in a program, almost significant, almost your entire team, if not half of it at least. So again, the game has completely changed, and that's another aspect of it.
We're going to get into that a little bit in a second, but 2010, to finish up your time with Pitt, wasn't it 2010? But you had a busy year. You saved some people from a car accident. You came to Fort Worth for a TCU Baylor football game. You had a conversation with Chris Del Conte, our former athletic director, about TCU joining the Big East. And then TCU decided ultimately to go to the Big 12, which is obviously where they sit now. Do you recall this moment? And what was going on there?
Well, I'll tell them when I thought about it was, I was Chris, and again, I finished in 87. I was traveling all over the place trying to get jobs, and so I wasn't back at TCU a lot, occasion, and our group, my friends, we generally would get together for like reunions in different places, San Antonio, Vegas, Austin. We'd go, we wouldn't come, I don't know, for some reason we didn't come back to Fort Worth for a football game or whatever. And so, and I was always busy during basketball season, obviously. And so, but when Chris got here, I knew Chris from Santa Barbara. We were at Santa Barbara together, and I just kind of, it was more. I became more aware of TCU, more connected. Somehow got here a few more times, and so that was how it came about. And then what happened was, and I remembered exactly where I was. I was in Hawaii because my wife's from Hawaii. I met her when I was there, and we'd go to Hawaii. That's
she native Hawaiian?
No, she's from LA, but. She grew up there.
Yeah.
And I remember being out in the ocean, and I was just thinking about TCU, and I was sitting out there and swimming, body surfing, what I was doing. I just remember thinking about TCU and realignment, because in the Big East, that's all we dealt with was realignment. And I was thinking of TCU and their situation and where it was at. And it came to me, and I was thinking about Hawaii too at the same time, how to, and I've always been intrigued and immersed in realignment and what's happened, because it's all I've ever been. Big West, WAC, Southwest Conference. I mean, I've experienced every aspect of playing, coaching. And so it just all of a sudden came to me, how could we do this? And I knew the Big East was looking to we were in trouble. We were the 6th best BCS conference. Our football had struggled. And then TCU had the great year. Were you on that team, right?
2010
was that?
It was way after me.
It was after. Yeah, okay.
That's why they did
That
so
was a
well.
nice softball though that you offered up.
So they had the great year. Some reason I knew that our BCS bid, our spot, the Big East, was up for evaluation, whatever you want to say, and we were right on. The league had not done well, and if we can add a team with the last record, and just record, didn't matter who you beat or what, it was just winning percentage at the time. And so I just came out and I was like, I think this could work. It could help us, and it could get TCU into a BCS with. And so I threw it out to Chris when I came to that Baylor game, and with all intention of get to the Big East, and then you got your best chance of getting the Big 12. I mean, that was serious class. Never thought it was going to happen as quick as it happened.
Right.
But it was obviously the route to do it, and give Chris credit for jumping on it, and Chancellor Boschini, because it took okay, the Big East, where's the fit, but if you looked at it, it all kind of made sense. And I was looking out for my school, and I brokered. I got our and the other thing that we had going for us was our chancellor at Pitt was the head of the expansion committee, so I
Knew him well.
Yeah, so I could facilitate that. I called the Big East. I called the leaders of that. We met at a football game there, and I told them what I thought could happen. And Chris at first looked at me like I was crazy, the Big East, and then we thought it could work. And certainly, like I said, we never thought it was going to happen that quick.
What beach were you at? Waikiki? Which beach were you at?
Yeah, Outrigger Club. Outrigger Club. That's where I was swam in the morning and worked out.
Oh, the old Outrigger Club.
The Outrigger Club.
I used to go out and body surf. I did this thing, hand planes. It's like a surfboard you start with your hand, but I let somebody use a couple when they went to Florida, and they never returned with them. Imagine that.
It was Kaimana Beach, which is the name of my dog. So
I think it's amazing though that you came up with a structured environment in the ocean that some might soon not.
Well, that connection to Chris and TCU would obviously pay dividends a few years later. In 2016, you become the TCU head basketball coach. We all have heard rumors how that happened, and there's some funny ones out there. But how did this happen? Because people came to see you. What can you tell us? People came to obviously court you. Was it an easy call? Hey, we want you to come to school.
No one courted me. I mean, at the very end of the year, Chris reached out to me, and there was I know we weren't done, but it was like the last game of the year, and it was at the very end, and he called me, and there was I told him my contract situation and with buyouts and different things, and I didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest. There was this time where we were excited about it. My wife was excited, and we actually thought it wasn't. I mean, it all happens. Everybody thinks like it's been in the works for these things are in the works, and the media writes things, and none of it's ever true. I shouldn't say none of it. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's never what is written, and it really was, and you. It's the problem with our business is you have about a 24-hour window to make a decision, a life-changing decision. I don't know any other businesses like that, and you have to keep it, quite figure it out in that situation. You can't talk to anybody, and you got to figure it out. And you can't in my situation, you generally can't you don't have an opportunity to go see the school or be obviously TCU. And I knew Chris and I knew Chancellor, so there was no meeting, there was no thing. It was done in 24 hours, maybe 48, and there was 24 hours I thought was going to happen. Then there's literally like 12 hours where it was done, couldn't do it, wasn't going to happen, and then it turned it went the other way. But there was a real time where my wife and I were kind of, in tears that we thought we were all set to go, and then it wasn't going to happen, and then it changed. So I was driving. I do remember this. I was driving to school, thinking I was meeting with the team, thinking I wasn't going to be able to go. And then Chris called me and said, we got it done. it was done like that.
Well, we're happy that it worked out that way. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm we're not where we need to be right now. Sure. We're going to be better, and we've done some great things, and we've improved it. There's no question. I mean, I know what it was coming into it, so some people question why I would do it, but I believe it can be done, and Gary's a big part of that. I mean, I saw what Gary had done, and I believe that the possibility exists. I mean, I've heard when I came here and the articles of worst Power 5 and team and all the different things, but we've improved it. It's still not where it needs to be, but we're working and we're way better this year. So
before you get to that, you get to TCU right out of the gate. Things start getting better real fast. You go to the NIT, we win a championship. I mean, I actually got to go to the Madison Square Garden game, and that was one of the most incredible sports moments I've ever had. You beat number 1 Kansas at home, another huge moment. I mean, in Kansas City.
In Kansas City,
that's correct.
Do that
you had
still.
3 straight 21 seasons, which hadn't happened ever, I don't believe. So you go on and coach the USA team in the FIBA Under-19 World Championship in New Zealand, a place you probably were happy to go back to. When they told you that, you're probably like, let's go. Yeah. You win a gold medal there, and you're later named the USA Basketball Coach of the Year. But all good stuff. The program, though, has taken a tremendous leap forward with you at its helm. So now we want to get to this year. So you already touched on it, but you got some real big depth this year.
Yeah.
You lost obviously Des Bain and Kevin Samuel. But the depth here is something you never had before, correct?
I feel good about it. I really do. And, I've had to, readjust or reinvent myself really as far as a coach. And everybody really does in college basketball. But we had 1 transfer in 17 years. I was at Pitt. And now we have 8 coming in this year. And it's, our league has had success with transfers. And I never thought, coming to Pitt and getting transfers and would be didn't fit Pitt. I mean, just, didn't fit TCU. At Pitt, we didn't do it either, and here at TCU, just get kids, 4-year, 5-year guys, and develop them. Desmond Baines, Kenrich Williams, R.J. Nembhard. Well, it's changed right before our eyes, and NILs come into play, and so I had to reinvent ourselves, and it was the only way we could survive. And we had some APR issues when I got here, and just continued to battle, and so we've adjusted, and I think we're going to be fine now. Some NCAA rules changed too that I think benefited us as well, and so that allow us to really play on a level playing field, to be honest, going forward here. So I think I've adjusted. We're going to have a new team every year. I go back to my junior college days where I coached. That was my first coaching job, junior college, and so I've embraced it, and we've got a great group. They're working hard, and we've played good in our first 2 scrimmages, and I'm excited about it. Like I said, the depth is there. We're athletic. We're big. We've got Mike Miles as a returning guy.
Friend of the show. He was here about a month ago.
There you go.
And we did talk about the NIL stuff. So how much has that changed coaching?
I think we're still figuring it out. I think it's all talked about now, and certainly players can go do their own thing. But I don't think it's affected recruiting and team building yet, and it will in the next 2 months. That's how far.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
this quick?
Yeah. Oh, really? In the incoming class, yeah, it will be. Yeah. So, but it's again, it's effective. But as we've seen, the teams with the best transfers in college basketball have been the most successful teams. I mean, that's just how the sport is built, the game is built, and how the players think. So,
yeah.
It's a new world, and it's fine. I mean, people, we're really trading guys. I mean, a guy spoke to a group the other day, and there's like, well, you lost this guy. I said, well, no, we're really. You only get 13 scouts. We traded. We think we improved ourselves, and that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's different. Huh?
Yeah, it's not. It's I guess looking at you have to adjust, and you just got to understand it. I hate to speak in those terms like trading and improving yourself, but it's the reality and what it is, and I have to do it that way.
And like 100%, you get to pick in there. How much of that is raw talent when you got a kid, and how much is it? Percentage-wise, how much he can work with the other kids that you got, knowing that chemistry stuff?
Chemistry, I think it's now we live in such a different, and basketball is, and I say this, and baseball, basketball, college basketball is so different than football. Football, they got to go to college for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just a whole different deal. They were redshirting kids. It's just a whole different world. Our mentality in basketball is just completely different. They want to be in the NBA. They think they should be in there in the first year across the board. You could go do a survey. Every kid will tell you he's an NBA player. And the numbers don't. Only 40 people new a year make the NBA. Really only the 31st round picks are, it's
out of how many players? 40 is out of how many?
40. Well, the world. Think about that.
How many is that? Is it 5,000?
No, I mean, college it's 5,000, but the difference with our sport is that the whole entire world plays basketball. Football, it's just the States. Right. I mean, like the whole world plays basketball. A third of the NBA is foreign players and growing. I mean, it's going to be it's higher than that. It's
any
going to
from
50.
Hungary yet, or
no?
not,
We're just that's the one place that hasn't somehow.
We got some feelers out there for you.
Listen, there.
Could you help with that? Maybe we could do some NIL.
So what you're saying is some of these kids might want to consider a plan B.
Plan B.
Like maybe start a podcast or, something to really pay the bills.
NIL is the plan B. Don't you see that? That's what the plan B is.
Very good.
And that's the real, I find that and we talk about it in meetings that I'm on with the NABC, the Coaches Association, and we just wonder where it's going with these kids that transfer.
Do you have some that multiple transfer, like school to school to
it's
school?
We were just talking about that today. I mean, Baylor's starting guard will be 3 schools in 3 years this year, and that wasn't supposed to be part of the rule.
Do you have to complete a season in one school? Like you can't go mid-season, can you? Or it doesn't matter?
Well, we're finding that's what they said it was only going to be one time immediate eligibility. Well, that's already been they busted that door down. So
who makes those rules?
The NCAA. But we say the NCAA. The NCAA is the universities. We're the people. We make the rules.
Yeah.
So they're an easy target, and everybody just likes to pile on. But it's a lot of this stuff is caused by ourselves.
Who watches the portal for you guys? The reason I'm asking because I have your roster here. So Damian Baugh, Memphis. Let's see, Xavier Cork from Western Carolina, Manuel Miller's A&M, Shadow Wells, UTA, Micah's, PV's from Texas Tech, Dubious from JUCO. Is somebody like actively watching the portal, or is that a
it's the portal. But generally, it's out on social media before it even gets to the portal. I mean, we're monitoring. Every coach is monitoring it, and
so everybody has a role in that, even including you.
Oh yeah, it's just constantly you're hearing. I mean, you can pretty much anticipate who's going to transfer. You just see it, and then nowadays, I think you almost have to assume that they are going to transfer. They're either going to go to the NBA at our level now, the Big 12. They're generally going to put their name in to go professionally, or they're probably going to transfer.
If they don't go to the NBA, they'll transfer out.
What's the portal look like, Coach? Is it a website? I mean, seriously, for someone who doesn't know, is it a website?
It's a website.
Everybody's name just pops on there, and if coaches just flock to this person and hit them up on social media, or do you have to engage them through the website?
Is that something about sports you don't know? What?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know
it's
this.
new. It's only been a couple of years, but I mean, it's really everybody talks about the portal and it's got a nice name to it, but it's been going on for years.
Yeah,
and now. What the portal, the biggest difference is that you don't have to get from the school you're leaving. You don't have to get a release.
You got to turn that mic. Just turn the mic to
the release. You don't have to get a release. So that was always the thing that was kind of ridiculous. The kid had to get a release from the school he was leaving. So sometimes they deny it, which turned into problems in both ways, and then sometimes it would take a couple days or whatever. So now there's generally a rule of when the kid comes in and puts his name in the portal, it's really a 24-hour. There's like a 24-hour period where kind of like a cooling off period, you say, but then the name goes in the portal. And then what it also entails is that you can't talk to that kid until his name's in the portal. And that's probably the best thing that it's done. But we know who the kids are, and you're hearing all the rumors and different things. And my big question is, and I guess I'll say this here now, is like, and I've said it in the meetings, they've laughed at me, but like tampering, how are you going to manage tampering? I mean,
with
literally,
alumni being involved.
No. It's just their AAU guys, their coaches, their parents, their high school coach. You have relationships with them. You recruited them the year before or 2 years before, whatever it may be, and they're always constantly reaching out. And they have one bad game, they're looking to transfer, or if they have one good game, they're looking to transfer up. I mean,
so that goes to this decision you talk about with the conference stuff, making these split decisions in a really short amount of time. Now you got people who are making decisions. You think about kind of the way it's been to this point. The coach makes the decision. The coach knows best. He, for the most part, you've got experience. You came from this. You've got some years on this. But now you got the NIL. Now the decision, the influence on the decisions is not just about the player and the playing, but it's a whole lot of other things. And it seems like it's just like Decision City going on here.
Well, I mean, the only reason the kids didn't transfer before is because they had to sit out a year. I mean, they're always there. I mean, it's always, the grass is always greener. And you tell a 17-year-old, 18. So they're going to, and then the coaches are going to tell them whatever they want to hear. And they want, I use the phrase, generally kids want to be lied to. I mean, like they want to believe whatever they're selling. And that's the, and then it's not every kid, and we're generally speaking, but it's just the world that we're going to live in. But sitting out was the deterrent, sitting out the year. And I think it's going to hit football worse going forward here, because all kids had 90% of football players are generally redshirted scholarship guys. So they really couldn't transfer because it would really mess up their career. They'd lose a year. They'd lose a year. And if you transfer it semester, it could really mess up your situation.
Anymore.
Now, I think with football, even if you redshirt them, they're going to transfer and still be on that. They can play right away, so they won't have to sit out another year. I think it's going to be, and I've said this, like basketballs, we're always kind of ahead of football in a lot of these things as far as what happens and like, analysts and, different things, all those things. That stuff's been done for years. Basketball, they had to shut it down because it was just hire an analyst, get a player, hire this guy, get a player, and go down the list of things. But I think football is going to get hit like ridiculous amount with the kids transfer, because they can play right away at the next place. And even if you redshirted them, because you can't play 90 guys with football, they're going to be eligible to play right away, and they don't lose any time. So
it's like it's going to be chaos. I mean, because think about it, you can't. I mean, you could speak to this, J-Dub. Part of your playing, probably well or not well, was the people you were next to, the chemistry going on with it. But if you have new people coming in and out all the time, and then you got coaches who some are going to go, I'm going to make the decision to only get the best players, and I'll switch them out as much as I can. And then others are going to make the decision, I'm going to make the decision to stick with chemistry, that these kids work well together. I mean,
we're going to have a choice. I mean, generally, like we said, they're generally going to transfer. At our level, they have options too. Now, at the lower level, they may not have options. And we're the best league in the conference in the country by far. It's not even close. So when you come out of this league, you're going to have options. Other schools, there's 353, I should say. So football's limited. That's what football guys found, is that there's only 110 Division I. So you run out of places real quick. And when you look at regions, there's a little more of that. Even though they have the 85 scholarships, there's still only so many places you can go. And that's where that's going to be interesting. So where do they end up? Now they could go NAIA or Division II or FCS or those type of things, but that's looked at as I don't think that's what they intended when they initially went. But generally, kids that put their name in the portal, I'd say this, they generally know where they're going. They generally know where they're going.
All right, Coach, we're getting close to the end here. When you're coaching at home and you're looking down the court at a offensive play or whatever, a free throw, and you see this in the stands, what's going through your mind? Because it's hilarious.
Well, yeah, it is. And there's a little backstory to this. So I was like, everybody asked, whose idea was this? We actually had one of these in Pitt And they had it. They had done one of these at Pitt in the student section. They put it up there at that. However, it was not the same size. So of course, when you get to Texas, they do the same thing. It's got to be 12 times the size.
Yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah,
so
I've heard that.
Yeah. So this is a great example of that theory. So that's where it came from. So they copied it from Pitt. Somebody had done it at Pitt. I don't know how they had done it. It wasn't me. It wasn't. I will. Honestly,
You sure? You were a child actor. We can see the ego.
I didn't do that, and now that's what it is. It is kind of funny, and they have placed it right behind the basket, so you pretty much can't miss it. So,
Coach, your passion for the game still there? Anything? You still love what you do?
Oh, I love it. I really do. And like I said, we reinvented. You're doing it a little different now with bringing guys in, but you work them from June. It's different. It's like, well, how you build this chemistry? Well,
yeah,
we didn't start practicing until October 15th when just 10 years ago. Now we have, I wouldn't say unlimited time, but we have a right amount of time on June 1st when they come here. So we're practicing pretty much 5-on-5, putting in all our stuff from June 1st on. So, I mean, June, July, August, we have all of our stuff in already. I said last summer, in June, July, we had more stuff in June and July than we had in all last year. Now, of course, we didn't have any practices because of COVID, and we missed 100 practices because of our situation. But that's really the thing. Reinvent yourself. Like we're putting everything in early. We're doing 5-on-5 stuff, plays, sets, defenses.
Yeah.
Everything's in early. So, we've got new teams, but we're practicing a lot more and earlier in the year and jumping into it. So we're going to be ready. We're going to be fine.
Coach, we love watching you. We love your story. We loved you for a long time. You've been awesome here. Awesome, truly. I promise I'll get Brenton to a game this year. I'll show him how it works and where the ball goes.
I just want to see the sign. I'll be watching the sign of you the whole time.
He'll bring his football bat with him.
It's tip-off, not kickoff, okay? So
best of luck this year. The team looks great. We're super excited to see what happens. Let us know how we can help. And before we go, we got a little...
one last thing. Family aside, all the... good and bad of family, all that stuff. Best day of your life.
Gosh, I got 2 kids, so that one's
yeah.
Can you 2 children?
Nothing family related.
Oh, nothing family. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I'm like,
some people have said, being on this podcast. Some people have said,
maybe
the jelly bean you ate before
the last second shot against Texas is probably in top 5 in there.
Yeah.
Saving the people from the car wreck. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Phrase again.
Aside from familial affairs, what's the best day of your whole life?
Today.
God, I love it.
You're actually the first person to ever say that.
But he didn't have to. Tomorrow will be better.
No, it's not. Yes. This isn't about this show. It's about what he talked about having 30 minutes before the show.
Thank you, Coach Dixon.
Thank you. Dude, how do you take out family? Family's everything. What's left?
Yeah, it is. I know. That's why it's a hard question. Hey, when do you want us to cut it off? You awake over there?
You mind your own business.
I'm running it. It's on.
How did Tillman get a spot in the...